Whatever Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
But just last week, President Trump said he had no problem making the video public.
I don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we'd certainly release. No problem.
So far, the Pentagon has released 22 videos of strikes on alleged drug boats. But it's the video of the September 2nd strike that killed 2 survivors that's drawing increased scrutiny. Hegseth says he won't commit to releasing it.
Whatever we were to decide to release, we'd have to be very responsible about. So we're reviewing that right now.
On Capitol Hill, Democrats who viewed the video demanding for it to be released, describing it as showing an attack on 2 defenseless survivors, which would violate international law. The president now says he's seen the video, but when I asked if the American people would get that chance, are you committing to releasing the full video?
Didn't I just tell you that?
You said that it was up to Secretary Hegseth. He wouldn't commit.
I told you, whatever Pete Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
Rachel Scott, thank you. And Congress is preparing to vote on a plan to prevent insurance premiums from skyrocketing. Costs are set to spike more than 20 million people if Affordable Care Act subsidies expire at the end of the year. Now some lawmakers say they're not optimistic a plan will come together in time. Meanwhile, President Trump's announcing a plan to help some American farmers hurt by his tariffs. Lionel Moise has the latest on both stories.
President Trump announcing a lifeline for American farmers hurt by his trade policies. Trump now planning to use revenue from tariffs to pay for a $12 billion bailout.
This relief will provide much needed certainty to farmers as they get this year's harvest to market and look ahead to next year's crops. And it'll help them continue their efforts to lower food prices.
The president blaming Democrats for Americans' concerns about affordability.
We inherited high prices. We inherited the biggest inflation in the history of our country.
One major affordability concern centers around health care. Insurance premiums are set to skyrocket next month for millions of Americans because Obamacare subsidies are set to expire unless Congress takes action. But some lawmakers say they're not optimistic a plan will come together in time.
We don't live in La La Land.
The Senate is expected to vote this week on a bill from Democrats that would extend Obamacare tax credits for 3 years. But that bill is expected to fail because it does not include reforms to Obamacare that Republicans want.
Democrats' great scheme to fix health care, Obamacare, has failed. So what are Democrats proposing to do this week, Mr. President? Introduce reforms? Perhaps try a different approach?
Republicans have no plan. They are so divided between themselves they can't even put a plan together.
And new signs of trouble on Capitol Hill. Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace lashing out at Speaker Mike Johnson in a New York Times op-ed, claiming House leadership has been marginalizing rank-and-file members and women. Mace writing, "Here's a hard truth Republicans don't want to hear. Nancy Pelosi was a more effective House Speaker than any Republican this century." Adding, Pelosi understood no majority is permanent. Mace, who's running for governor of South Carolina, claims her House colleagues are letting politics get in the way of policy. The op-ed follows outgoing Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's appearance on 60 Minutes, where she said she believes Republicans are afraid to stand up to President Trump. Trump responding, calling her a low IQ traitor and saying she made many really stupid statements. Back to that bailout for farmers, $11 billion will be used for one-time payments to crop farmers. Many of them have been hurt by the trade war with China. As for China, it just reported a record $1 trillion global trade surplus. Lionel Moise, ABC News, New York.
Lionel Moise, thank you. And the United Healthcare CEO murder suspect due back in court today as more officers take the stand in a critical hearing. Yesterday, a Pennsylvania officer defended searching his backpack without a warrant, saying she thought it could have a bomb inside. Now, prosecutors are expected to call more officers involved in the arrest as the defense fights to have evidence they found tossed from the case. Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katursky has the latest from the Manhattan courthouse.
In court, accused killer Luigi Mangione makes a fist while his attorneys fight to keep key evidence out of the case. That includes this handwritten note with a crudely drawn map listing Pittsburgh and nearby cities. Check Pittsburgh red eyes, ideally to Columbus or Cincinnati. There's a reminder to get off early and another to keep momentum. FBI slower overnight. Prosecutors describe the note as Mangione's escape routes. On the flip side of the page, a reminder to change hat, shoes, and pluck eyebrows. The manager of a Pennsylvania McDonald's said customers recognized the young man at a corner table from his distinctive eyebrows.
I have a customer here that some other customers were suspicious of, that he looked like the CEO shooter from New York.
Defense attorneys say the officer who searched Mangioni's backpack at the McDonald's skipped steps and violated his rights because she was eager to help solve a high-profile murder. Isn't it true, a defense attorney said, that you were actually searching his bag because you thought he was the New York City shooter? The officer testified, "We're just making sure there's no bomb." But body camera footage shows customers and employees walking by, and the officer conceded police never cleared the restaurant. From the backpack, the officer is seen pulling a loaded magazine wrapped in a pair of wet gray underwear, a hollow point bullet sticking out. Another officer is then heard saying, "At this point, we probably need a search warrant." The officer took the bag back to the station and resumed searching, seen retrieving a 3D printed gun with a second magazine and silencer. The NYPD later linked the weapon to the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. There was also a phone and a Faraday bag designed to block its signal. This is the fifth week of an evidence suppression hearing. It's expected to last at least through the end of the week, Diane. And sometime in January, the judge is expected to decide what evidence will be in at trial and which could be out. Diane?
Aaron Katersky, thank you. Meanwhile, Australia is now banning social media for kids under 16 nationwide. ABC's Maggie Rulli has the details. Hi, Maggie. What's the latest here?
Hey, Diane. Yeah, well, as of midnight in Australia, that is happening right now. If you're 16, you can no longer log into any of your social media accounts. This is a huge, grand experiment, Diane. Anyone under the age of 16 is off social media. More than 1 million accounts have gone dark overnight. And it's part of a growing trend we're seeing around the world, right, Dan? You've seen it there in the States as well. More than a dozen states have taken steps to add regulations and rules around smartphone use in classes. This is Australia taking it that step further, doing this large controversial ban on all social media. So here are the social media networks right now that are included, Diane. It's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Threads, TikTok, X, YouTube, Reddit, streaming platforms like Kick and Twitch. The government says that list could keep growing. Here's what's interesting, Diane. The responsibility falls on these corporations, on these big companies. They're supposed to take reasonable efforts to implement software to check for age verifications. And if they don't, they can be fined up to more than $30 million. Now, parents and kids are supposed to comply, but again, the responsibility really falls on these large corporations. The government is fully in support and backing this. But Diane, we had the chance today to speak to a couple people in Australia, both supporters and critics. You know, supporters say this is a necessary step. Again, we're seeing this growing movement, more people acknowledging a rising mental health crisis in young people. Rates of anxiety, depression, body dysmorphia are up. They also want to combat online predatory behavior and grooming. So there's a lot of support behind this in Australia and around the world. But Diane, there's also critics. You know, we've seen people come out saying, I'm a 14-year-old, I'm a content creator, I'm an influencer, I make money on this platform. Now you're taking away my livelihood. You've also heard critics say this is the way kids socialize these days. Childhood looks different. So you're taking away how kids connect to one another. But Diane, you know, we spoke to one excerpt that I think sort of sums it up perfectly, saying, this is one big step. Yes, it's going to be confusing. It's going to be controversial, but it's the first step of many as we enter this new world that none of us have lived through before. We're trying to figure out how to make childhood safer and happier for people. This is one step similar to sort of putting seatbelts in cars and putting restrictions on how fast you can drive. This is the first of many things that could be implemented to make sure we keep kids, teens, and eventually adults safer online, Diane.
All right, Maggie Rulli, thank you. And Honduras is issuing an international arrest warrant for its former president. Juan Orlando Hernandez was released from a U.S. prison last week after President Trump pardoned him. President Trump said Hernandez was unfairly treated when he was sentenced to 45 years for drug trafficking. Now Honduras' attorney general is urging its international allies to arrest him again. Hernandez is wanted for money laundering and fraud, and his current whereabouts are unknown. Coming up, the new twist in the Alec Murdaugh case. The county clerk who read Murdaugh's guilty verdict now has her own guilty plea. What it could mean for Murdaugh's bid for a new trial.